So, hello, Imogen. Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast. If you could please introduce yourself to everyone.
Hello. Yeah, so my name's Imogen. I am 29 years old and I had my first little girl last summer. And yeah, that's it really.
How exciting. So, she's what? What month was she born?
July, so she'll be 10 months soon.
Oh,
So
wow. Oh,
yeah, it's
lovely. It's
gone
such a
so
nice age.
fast. Yeah, she's
Yeah.
great fun at the moment. So yeah.
Yeah. They get their little personalities, don't they? And
Yeah,
start to
that's
interact.
definitely coming through. So
Yeah. Oh, bless you. So, yeah, you're here to share your birth story with her. So, I'm excited to hear how that all went. So, you did hypnobirthing. Kind of what was it that got you interested in hypnobirthing?
I think it had always been on my radar, like I was always aware of it. I think my oldest sister, she had a baby kind of 6 years ago, and I'm sure I kind of remember her floating it around. But I think kind of back then I was 6 years younger, didn't really pay too much attention. So kind of I'd signed up to an antenatal group, the Happy Parent, Happy Baby ones, and they
Yeah.
did one session on hypnobirthing, but I kind of knew I wanted a bit more than just that. But so I am actually a children's nurse.
Oh, are
Um,
you?
yeah. I kind of with my shifts and stuff, it was quite hard to attend groups because obviously my shifts would change each week. So I'd had to request off like every Tuesday just to do antenatal. So I knew there wasn't really a chance that I was going to be able to do a hypnobirthing online. I mean, in
Yeah.
person.
Yeah.
So my sister, my middle sister, she was also pregnant at the same time with me,
Oh,
and
nice.
she had kind of bought an online hypnobirthing course in a sale. So I just kind of copied her lead and bought the
Yeah.
same course. And that was when it all kind of began, really.
Wow. So she was doing it as well,
Yeah, so we were
hypnobirthing.
both doing it kind of at the same
Yeah.
time. And yeah, I think as soon as I kind of started, I was like, the cogs began to whir,
Yeah.
and I kind of began to kind of think about birth and what I wanted. And I think a lot of that was directed from kind of the hypnobirthing.
Yeah. So you work as a children's nurse. Are you with older children or baby? You're not with babies.
No, so babies, yeah.
Oh, you are with babies.
So I used to work in intensive care. So
Oh,
yeah, for small babies, it was mainly cardiac surgery. So
right.
I was kind of petrified of
Yeah.
small babies and
It
being
must have
unwell.
it must have shaped some of your feelings around birth, I suppose, being in that type of career.
Absolutely. I think after my booking appointment, they kind of, in my booking appointment, they said to me, which hospital do you want to give birth in? And so I'm based in Leicestershire, and there's the two hospitals, the Royal, the General, and then there's also a birthing centre, but I'm kind of the other side away from that. And I was like, nope, I'll only give birth at the hospital that's directly below the level 3 intensive
Yeah.
care because
Yeah.
if my baby
Yeah.
needs it, it's all going to be there.
Yeah.
And I kind of messaged my sister after being like, oh my God, like, obviously I'm going to go there. And I think I even said, like, I just don't understand, like, who would even have a home birth, which, as you'll later find out, I did. So,
It's often the way. It's often the way that you start off very like on one path. So the birth centre in Leicester, is it the one that I'm thinking of that's like really amazing, where
yes,
you
yeah.
stay for like a week or something
Yeah,
after?
the names escape me, but unfortunately, actually, it has closed.
Closed down. I know. I heard that as well. It's such a
Yeah,
shame.
and it was actually due to close on my due date. That was the day that they were closing.
Right.
So for us, it wouldn't have really made sense because I think I was about 40 minutes from it. And then I did think if we needed to be transferred in, it would be like another 40 minutes into the hospital. And I went on for the home birth in the end. But yeah, devastatingly, it's
What a
it's closed.
shame.
St Mary's, I
I
think that's the name.
St Mary's. I was just thinking St Mary's. I mean, I'm not from around there, but I've had people on the podcast that have
Mm,
talked about it, and also my cousins live in Leicester, and I
okay,
know
yeah.
one of them gave birth there,
Mm,
and I heard such good things about it, and
they
then yeah,
they
I
even
thought I'd heard it shut down.
they even did like amazing like C-section recovery as well. I know a few people
Oh,
that had like gave birth at the Royal and then like had transferred thereafter for a few days if the baby was needing kind of antibiotics, the mum was needing something further. So yeah, that's really sad actually. I think
what a
that's been
shame.
a big loss
Yeah.
kind of for the community.
It really
So,
is, isn't it? Okay, so tell us about, yeah, how did your plans end up changing and how did your birth end up going?
so yeah, I was kind of doing all the hypnobirthing in the background. I think, well, a bit of context is that I was very sick throughout my whole pregnancy. So I
Oh,
had
okay.
hyperemesis and I just was counting down the days. I did not enjoy any aspect of being pregnant.
No.
It was
Did you
really,
have it
really
the whole way
tough.
through? You had it the whole way through, did you?
Yeah, I had a bit of kind of a break from, I think, from about weeks 30 to weeks 36. I think it was just probably like normal morning
Oh,
sickness.
yeah. Oh,
But yeah, it was awful to be honest. It was really hard. But I think the one thing was like I felt like you kind of go into I was quite fit and active before and I kind of thought I'm going to
mm,
sail through pregnancy. So when I
yeah.
was kind of like floored from 5 weeks onwards, I felt a bit cheated. I felt a bit like I'd
Yeah.
kind of had everything that I wanted taken away from me.
Yeah. You
And I
couldn't
think
enjoy it.
yeah, but as awful as that was at the time, I do think that really empowered me because I was like, I'm gonna have a really good birth. Like
Yeah.
I know things might happen that I don't have, but I'm gonna be like as educated as possible on everything so that I can just make as many choices as I can
Yeah.
and make a bit of a comeback almost,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
so I'd been in hospital a lot really in my kind of first and second trimester. So it was a completely low risk pregnancy, just with the sickness. I was in a lot for fluids.
Oh,
Yeah, and every time I was in hospital, I was like, "God, this is so stressful to me." Every time the call bell went off, I'd be like, "Oh, I need to respond to that." And then I was like,
of
"No,
course.
you're a patient."
Oh my God.
And
Yeah, of course.
the kind of the labor the maternity area is like directly below where I used to work. So the layout's the exact same.
Mm,
And I just could not relax at all. I'd feel better because obviously I'd had anti-sickness and stuff. I was so stressed. And I just remember thinking, like, this is not conductive with oxytocin flowing.
no,
Like,
no.
but again, I'd not really thought about home birth at this point. I just, in my head, that wasn't for me. That was like
Yeah.
boxed off.
Yeah.
And it was like at this time as well, my second trimester, when I was able to go to work, I was just being flooded by negative stories. A lot
Yep.
of, and initially I'd found it really hard to put kind of boundaries in place because I think also I wanted to hear them because I was not hearing anything. So when people were telling me their stories, I was wanting to obviously engage and understand, could this happen to me? But the more it kind of went on and on, I was like, did no one have good birth? Like,
Yeah.
so that was kind of like in my mind a lot. And I wanted to be as prepared as possible. So I had really started research articles. I was doing a university module at the time with work. So I had access to the full library. And I was like,
Wow.
I'm a very kind of logical person. I need to understand everything. So
Yeah.
I just started reading and reading and reading. And it's kind of like a bit of a rabbit hole, isn't it? Once you
Yeah.
read one thing and then you read other
Yeah.
things. Um, and it was at, I think, my 24-week appointment, kind of around then, 26 weeks maybe, whatever appointment it is you have around then. And the lady said to me, "What are you doing this afternoon?" And I said, "Oh, I'm feeling really good today. So I'm going to try and go to yoga this evening. My husband said he's going to come with us in case I'm really sick." And she said, "Oh, okay,
Oh.
that's amazing. Are you into that kind of thing?" And I said, "Yeah, yeah, I really like that." And she said, "Okay." And then when I was leaving, she goes, "So do you know where the safest place for low risk pregnancies is to give birth?" And I was like, "You're going to say at home, aren't you?" And
So
she
you
was
did
like,
already know. You knew that
"Yeah,
already.
yeah." And she was like, "Yeah, I am." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, okay, like I'll think about it." And that day I just couldn't get it out of my head. And that's, I think, when the decision really came around in my head. I was like, I know that everything that I've been reading kind of and with my hypnobirthing and like the oxytocin and everything flowing, like for me, I know that that is, going to happen if I can stay at home for as long as possible. So why not just stay at home even longer and have the baby there? And I was still quite unsure, so I called up the home birthing team. They've got like a number, and I just kind of was like, "Oh, do you think maybe I'd be able to have a chat with someone?" And the next week, a midwife came over to my house and she was there for like an hour and a half with me
Wow.
and my husband. And she just was like talking us through absolutely everything. And I just thought, like, wow, like that's such a different kind of. I'd never had the same midwife before this twice. I was seeing different
Yeah.
people. I was in and out within 5 minutes. And I just thought, even if I'm under the home birth team, maybe if towards the end I decide that's not what I want, at least I've had this really good kind of
Yeah.
care and continuity of care as well.
That's such a great point as well. Like you almost using it for what you can get out of it, even if that's not a home birth
Yeah,
at the end of it. Yeah, that's
yeah.
such a great idea.
And I mean, I think I'm so lucky because I know it is can be a real postcode lottery, but
Mm.
the UHL home birth team are just incredible. They support, quite a whopping number of births really in the community
Great.
compared to a lot of other places. I think there's maybe a team of 8 midwives or
Wow.
definitely at least six, and they kind of
Wow.
do like, it's 24-hour covered.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, once that decision was made, I went all in really on. But the biggest thing that I think I struggled with, the kind of the hypnobirthing side, is initially, I don't want to say the word airy fairy, but I
Mm.
struggled with that
No, it's
side of
fine.
it.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't really connect to that. Um,
Yeah.
and the more I think, a few of the Sarah Wickham books and one about the why birth matters, that one, I can't
Yes,
remember who
so
that's
good.
by. But
There's a few different ones in that range that why
yeah,
there's sort of different ones like why home birth matters, why
yeah.
cesarean matters. Yeah. Yeah, they're really good, those
And
books.
yeah, I really like, and once I kind of started understanding like the physiological side and like the anatomy of
Mm.
what's happening during the contractions, that just kind of really clicked to me. And then I was able to think like, okay, so this is why I need to do this breathing during this part. And kind of understanding that is when it all pieced together in my mind.
Do you think it's because you're medical that
I
you
think so.
found
Yeah,
that side
absolutely.
difficult? Yeah. And once your logical brain could make sense of it, it suddenly clicked.
Yeah, yeah, I really
Mm.
think so. Because once I knew it and I could visualize it, I was because I did try before to kind of imagining the flower opening and closing when I was doing my breathing, but I was like, I'm not sure this is,
Yeah.
but then as soon as I kind of
Yeah.
was imagining like, like the everything moving around, I was like, okay, this is I can get on board with this.
Yeah, you
But
understand why that it's a benefit, but also
yeah,
not everybody's visual. Like not some people do
yeah,
struggle with that visualization side of it, which is
yeah,
obviously fine. Like not everybody's brain, I guess, works in that way. But yeah, like I suppose once you can understand why what that mind body connection
yeah.
and why that's important, it becomes a little bit easier.
But so we decided to not tell anyone that we were having a home birth.
Yes, that's a good idea too.
Yeah, I'd
Not your
floated.
sister.
No, so not even my sister, which
No.
was so hard because, we were like, so close. But obviously,
Yeah.
I'd already kind of said, like, who would have homework?
Oh yeah.
And I also didn't want to put people in, like, not an unfair position, but, like, I didn't really talk to people about it because I didn't want them to be,
Yeah.
like, saying the things that I had probably said in my past. And then,
Yeah.
when we had one, be like, oh.
Yeah.
um, so, yeah, we kept that to ourselves. And as well, the one thing at this point was I was beginning to feel kind of really empowered and confident in myself, but I was still finding a lot of negativity elsewhere. And then this is where I found your podcast. And all I did for like 3 or 4 weeks straight was listen to these positive birth stories
Oh, good.
on repeat, non-stop, round and round again. And, even when like that morning when I was in labor, I was like put on one of my old favorites.
Yeah,
I
amazing.
can't
Which
remember
was
her
it?
name. It was an Irish girl, I'm sure,
Oh, okay.
and I think she gave birth in London, I
Yeah.
think, in a flat. That's what I remember. And maybe she was
There's been
American.
so
Yeah.
many. There's been so many. People say them to me, and I'm like, oh my God, I feel so terrible. I can't remember
Yeah.
because there's been like 6 years worth of
Yeah,
people,
so
people's
many.
stories. Yeah.
But I listened to everything. I listened to
Yeah.
elective C-sections,
Yeah.
emergency, everything that I
Yeah.
could listen to, I listened to.
Yeah.
And I heard people saying on the podcast, you just need to put boundaries in with people. So I did. I just started being like, I appreciate you telling me, but right now it's really hard for me
Yeah.
to listen to that kind of thing because I'm trying to remain, as positive as possible. And sometimes people would rebuttal a little bit and be like, yeah, well, I was really positive going into my birth too. It's like, I understand. And I would like to listen to your birth story, just not right now.
Yeah.
And I think as well, then maybe it was just in my mind, but the more I kind of then was seeking out like these positive stories, then I did like a few people at work started kind of sharing theirs and just saying like, no, I had a baby. It was fine. It was nothing. It was no drama. Like,
Yeah.
and I
It's
just
kind of
kept,
hard to share the positive ones. So I suppose once you give people permission
yeah,
to share the positive, they want to, but it is hard, as you've probably found yourself as well. It is kind of hard to share them because the
yeah,
general gist around birth is that it is so negative. So if you come along with your like lovely positive
yeah. You feel
story,
like you're really boasting or gloating sometimes.
yeah,
I've found that quite difficult actually, now that I'm on the other end of it.
yeah,
Yeah, I just I kept, a few people, I just kept the one thing that really just resonated was I think you had actually said it and someone else on your podcast, but they were talking about it. It's like the one thing I was like, I don't know how to grow a baby. I'm having a horrible time doing it, but my body is just doing it. And I just
yeah,
kept saying to myself, like, it knows what to do. It will
yeah.
know what to do. Just kind of hopefully got to try and let it do its thing.
We trust the whole pregnancy process, don't we? Like we trust that every single day for like 9, 10 months,
Yeah.
your body is doing something and your baby is growing as it should. Like we trust all of that implicitly. But
Yeah.
we get to birth and we have such distrust
Yeah.
in it, you know?
So I just was working on the theory that I would just leave it all alone as much as possible. And, it would kind of, my one real fear was being induced.
Mm.
Um, I think mainly based on stories that I'd heard. A few of my older sister's friends had kind of been induced, it had gone on for a while and ended up with a C-section. So my one kind of initial thought was I won't be induced. If I get kind of to like 42 weeks and baby's not here, I would go for an elective C-section. I think actually had I got to that point, I probably wouldn't. I would have said, I'm staying at home,
Yeah.
But as I'll say in a minute, it didn't get to that point. So she actually, I think I kind of gone the other side as well. So she did arrive the day before her due date and she was bang on the predicted weight on the Fundle height. And I'd,
Really?
yeah, and I'd been going on like she'll never come on her due date. She'll be 42 weaker, I'm sure of it. And she's not as big as they're saying.
Do
She
you know what
was.
though? A broken clock is right twice a day. That's
Yeah,
always the thing.
yes,
Like,
exactly.
very occasionally they get it right, but
Yeah.
but definitely not all the
And it
time.
was. It was bang on the money for both. So, you know. So yeah, she was born, like I said, the day before her due date. On a Sunday evening it was.
Oh,
And I started having very early labour from about the Thursday. So Thursday and Friday morning, I'd woke up with kind of some, not Braxton Hicks, but I wouldn't call them contractions, but
okay.
something was happening. Both times I kind of stayed in bed for like an hour or so, like, hmm. And then they died off. So I thought, no, I'm just getting on with my day. I went to go meet a friend and didn't really think anything of it. Saturday morning, about 10 a.m. ish, I was downstairs and I thought, oh, I think I'm having a contraction. But it was so mild. And I just, again, went about my day. I was like, I'm not going to start timing these or anything because they're just not painful enough yet. So,
Yeah.
kind of continued as we were doing, but they kind of picked up and were happening about every 10 minutes. Uh, so that was happening all throughout the day. I had a bit of paracetamol and a bath, I think, because I felt like that's probably what I was meant to do.
Yeah.
And yeah, it'd been a good like 6 or 7, 8 hours where they'd just been coming one every 10 minutes. Not too painful. I was definitely able to speak through them. So I called the home birthing team and I said, just so you know, this is what's happening, just so it's on your radar. And she said, amazing, just try and get a good night's sleep tonight because this might be happening for a while longer or maybe things will ramp up. And I thought, okay, that's fine. Went to sleep. They were waking me up. but I was able to very quickly settle in between. I think I got a bit fed up and maybe had a bath at 4 a.m.
Oh,
And then when I was in the bath, I remember thinking, I kind of got into my own head a little bit. I was like, why are they not picking up in speed or intensity? Is she doing something silly? Is it anything? So I just called the team and I said, am I doing what I'm meant to be doing? Am I doing anything wrong?
yeah.
And they said, no, this can happen, kind of thing. And I remember that at this point, I got a bit upset because I thought, I can't do this for another week or two.
Yeah.
Mentally, I think I would really struggle with that. And they just said, well, why don't we just send the day shift midwife? She lives kind of your way. So we'll send her over to your house in the morning when she starts and you can have a bit of a chat.
Oh,
So I was like,
nice.
that would be really nice. Thank
Oh.
you. So she came over in the morning, kind of, we spoke. I think we had a cup of tea together.
Oh.
She had a feel in my tummy and she said, oh yeah, she's so engaged, I can't feel the top of her head. But she's kind of back to back, so
Oh, okay.
we need to kind of, try and working on positioning. She
Yeah.
kind of pointed me back towards the spinning babies stuff. She said, try and rest but stay active,
Yeah.
have a good
Yeah.
nap, go for a walk, do all the nice things that you would do on a normal Sunday.
Yeah.
And she asked if I wanted a vaginal examination, and I think before I would have said no,
Yeah.
but curiosity got the better of me.
Yeah, it
So I
does.
was
It does.
like, yeah, go on then. So she did an examination and she said, you're 1 centimeter, keep doing your own thing. And I said, okay.
Yeah.
And I felt fine with that actually, because I
Yeah.
knew it wasn't anything yet. So we went, this was, I think she'd left by kind of 8 a.m. So went back to bed, had a bit of breakfast. And then I said, let's go to Tesco's, big Tesco's, treat ourselves. We went and got a few like last minute bits. I panicked that I hadn't got enough pads and things like that.
Yeah.
And the other thing that the midwife had said to me in the morning, because all my kind of the pains I was getting were in my back, and she said, just put your TENS machine on. And I said, are you sure? It seems a bit, and she said, no, the earlier you get it on, the better it will
Yeah.
be for you. So I said,
Yeah.
okay, amazing. So I put it on and she put the electrodes on my back for me actually, and that was really helpful.
So did you
So
have that on when you went to Tesco?
yeah, I had it on Tesco, big jumper over the top.
Amazing.
And as we got into like as we were driving there, I was like, oh, these are picking up a bit actually.
Oh, little bumpy car ride. That can help.
Yeah. And they were definitely kind of beginning to increase in time. So I think we were at the house maybe from 10:30 till 12:30. We went to Greg's after to go and get a gingerbread man because that was all I wanted. And by the time we got home, yeah, probably about one-ish. And I said, no, I'm having kind of 3 in 10 minutes now.
Wow.
But I remember I said to my husband, I was like, they're just still not as intense as I think they should be. I was able to quite easily talk through them. And I'd kind of have 3 in 10 minutes for 40 minutes, and then I might have one, in
Yeah.
that 10-minute block. So I was a bit like unsure. So I called the midwives and said, I think I'm having 3 in 10, but I would say I'm like at the more further stage from
Yes.
that. I'm not,
Yeah.
can't be too reliant on that. And they said, okay, well, one of our midwives is going to be going to pick up a urine sample or something near you. So do you want her to kind of come swing by and speak to you? And I said,
Mm.
yeah, that sounds good. So she came over to the house and we had a bit of a chat, and she listened with the Doppler, and Olive's heart rate was high.
Okay.
And this was a problem that I'd had in pregnancy a few times. And she said, oh, so she did it. She said it's really quite high, but I think you're going to need to go in.
Oh no.
And I was like, can you please just give me 10 minutes? I said, she does this all the time. I'd
Yeah.
been in twice before for midwife's appointments for high heart. I said, she's just a wiggler. Just give her
Yes.
time to go back to sleep and it'll come back down. And I think she was kind of newer to the home birth team. So she said, okay, let me just call my colleagues. And
Yeah.
they kind of, I think, must have looked through my notes and said, yeah, that's fine. Just give it 10 minutes. So she gave it 10 minutes, listened again, and it was all fine. I just found myself, oh, yeah.
Yes, well done.
So she said, do you want a vaginal examination? And I said, oh yeah, go on then.
Might as well.
Yeah. And so she said, you're about 3.5
Oh,
centimeters. Yeah. She said,
good.
if you were 4 centimeters, I'd have to stay because you'd obviously kind of be in that kind of more active part. But
Yeah.
I think I'm going to go drop this urine sample off to the hospital. The other midwives are at a birth at the moment. By the time you're probably ready to see us again, it will be fine. So I said, yeah, that's fine. My husband, he did kind of rebuttal it a bit more. He was like, are you sure? Because what if you go and you get stuck and you can't come
Yeah.
back? But I was like, I'm 3.5 centimeters, Nathan. We've got ages.
Yeah.
And we didn't really, it turns out.
I was going to say, I can just so see where this is going.
Yeah. So I feel like the moment she kind of walked out the door, it just like,
It
vroom.
picked up, really.
Yeah, like when she was there, I was able to talk through them, but I was like, no, I wasn't really. I was having to definitely focus a lot more, hang over the ball, and really focus my breathing. So she left, I think it was probably around 3:30-ish. And between 3:30 and 5:30, it just went from 0 to 100. But this is where I think, obviously, and people say it all the time, and it's so true, vaginal examinations are just like a window, like one time,
Yeah.
because within them next 2 hours, I was ready to push.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've seen it happen as well at births I've been at. It's like it
And
can
I think,
change so fast.
yeah. And, once she left, I think, obviously, I felt very comfortable with her in my house. But, once she left, I kind of was just going in between each rooms. I think I was a bit restless. I couldn't stay still. I was hanging over the ball, then on the door. And then I
Mm.
said, I need a bath. So my husband ran me a bath. And actually, I said to him, I said, just go and the bathroom's next to the nursery. I said, you just go and lie on the spare bed in the nursery and I'm just going to bath. Had my headphones in. I was listening to all my hypnobirthing tracks. And it was this point in the bath that I was like, oh, I don't think I can do this anymore. This
Oh,
isn't this isn't going to happen because my head, I'm like, I'm maybe let's say 5 centimeters. I
yeah.
can't do this for another
Yeah.
7 hours. It's so intense. And one thing that I found really important was I was prepared for the pain.
Yeah.
I don't think you can imagine the pain until it's happening, but I very much was like, I'm not, I didn't believe that you could breathe through and it wouldn't hurt.
Yeah.
So I think I didn't feel scared by it, and I knew
Yes.
it needed to happen. And I just, I kept saying, this isn't a bad pain. This isn't a bad pain. My body is doing what it needs to do. It can't
Yeah.
hurt me. It hurts, but it can't hurt me.
I love that. That's so good. It can't hurt
Yeah,
you.
yeah, like it hurts, but it's
Yeah. It's not a
it's
bad pain.
no, exactly that. And actually, she didn't turn, so she was still back to back.
Right.
And the intensity in my back was quite something. And I just, as soon as the contraction would stop, I would just be like, oh,
Oh my
oh,
gosh.
like just like, and I actually did doze in the bath in between.
Did you? Yeah.
And I got out the bath and I was like, get the TENS machine back on quick.
Yeah.
And I think my husband, bless him, he came in, put the TENS machine on, and then I was like, no, I'm going in the shower. So went upstairs into the shower, and that was the point where I now know that I was kind of like transitioning. It
Yeah.
was intense. And then when I got out the shower, I had my bloody show.
Oh wow.
And yeah, so I put on big kind of knickers, some big pants ready, came downstairs, and I said, Nathan, I think you need to call the midwives now. This is definitely 3 in a minute,
Yeah. Oh my God.
or not
Yeah.
3 in a minute, but like they were a good 40 seconds long. And I felt like I was getting to the point where I'd have like a minute off and then they'd be
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
So I said, yeah, you need to call the midwives because this is intense. And as he was on the phone to the midwives, I had the hugest contraction that I thought I panicked during it. It was the first one where I'd really was like, I really can't do this. And just suddenly I kind of like shot upright and my waters just burst.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And I thought, oh no. And then nothing. It just stopped.
Right.
And I
Yeah.
thought in my head, I was like, okay, okay, rest and be thankful, maybe.
Yeah.
Or I just thought, have I shocked myself and I've scared myself that the
Oh,
oxytocin's gone out the window? I just think I went into a bit of a panic. And then I had that familiar story that you hear of like, oh, I think I need the toilet. I think I need a poo.
yeah.
And then I quite quickly was like, no, that's not a poo. That's a
Yeah.
baby. So I think he just hung up the phone to the midwives and I'd had one kind of urge to push, but I'd done my best to kind of, I think, hold it in. And then the next one came and I was like, no,
You just
my
can't.
no it's happening. And I was like,
Yeah.
they can call the midwife, the baby's coming, I'm pushing.
Oh my
So
God.
he called the midwife and she was like, I'm about 10, 15 minutes away, but I'm stuck. There's two people that have like bumped cars in the street and they're
Oh, stop
arguing.
it.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So she was like, I'm gonna go shout at them. So I think she tells it. She got out her car and was like, I need to go to a birth. So Nathan was like, do I call the ambulance? Are you not gonna make
Yeah.
it? And she said, if you want to, which
Oh
I
my
don't think
God.
was very helpful because he thought, obviously, I want to.
Yes.
So he called the ambulance as well. They were obviously asking the questions on the phone. We had planned to have a water birth. The UHL team, so the way they do it, from what I remember, they said to me is kind of normally once you're in active labour, for a
Mm.
first time mum, they will set the pool up there.
Mm.
And we'd bought all the supplies, the connectors and stuff. But at this point, I was like, well, we're not going to have time.
There's just no
so,
time.
so I was pushing. Nathan starts putting everything out. I'm kind of on all fours, and then I think this was about 6:40ish. The midwives came through the door and the ambulance crew at the same time.
Okay.
And I mean, the midwife, she was just, I hadn't met her before, but she was so calm and collected. She walked in, she was putting her gloves on, she was like, let's have a baby. And I just
Oh,
turned and like the look of relief in my husband's face was just like,
I bet.
oh, you know, whereas I think I was very in the zone that I hadn't quite,
Yeah.
fully processed. She very quickly sent the ambulance crew away, but asked if we could use the gas and air because she didn't have a mouthpiece or something. She'd come straight from another birth.
Wow.
And then the other midwife arrived as well. So she had all the other bits. So yeah, I think I was pushing for about just under an hour
Yeah.
overall. And yeah, she was the wrong way. So it was taking a little bit, but I mean, you really have no control in what's going on, to be
No.
honest. I tried to use the gas and air, but I think I was just too far gone by the time they tried to explain it to me. I couldn't use it.
Yeah.
I had it in my mouth, but I think I was more like biting down on it. And then they kept saying,
Mm.
relax your face, relax your face. And yeah, so she was born at 7:20. Her
Wow.
head came out first, obviously, obviously, but her head was out for 3 minutes before her
Oh,
body
wow.
came.
Really?
And that was the point where I did panic a little bit then, because I think this is where maybe knowledge is slight. I was thinking
Hmm.
like shoulder dystocia.
Yeah.
She's not going to have any oxygen to live with us.
Were the
Also,
midwives panicked? Were they okay?
not at all, not at
No,
all.
they were fine. Yeah.
And I was going, I think, should I try and push again? Should I try and
Oh,
push? And they're
bless
like,
you.
Imogen, darling, if you want to, you can give it a little push if that's what you feel like you want to do. But you can
So
just wait for the next urge.
you just hadn't had another urge for those few minutes, I suppose.
Yeah,
It was just a little break for you. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And then I was a bit upset and I was like, I think I want to try and push
Oh,
her. And I tried to give it a little push and I could just tell
no.
that's not enough almost, or that's not working. And then I just had a whopping contraction and urge, and the midwife kind of turned her on the way out, I think, because she still wasn't in a
Oh,
great
yeah.
position. So when she came out, she was quite swollen
Yeah.
and a little bit floppy to begin with. But the midwife said they were expecting that because obviously the way that she'd came out, within a minute or two, she was back onto my chest, perfect baby. So
Oh,
yeah, it. I felt so lucky. It was everything that I could have ever wanted. And again, sometimes I have found that a bit hard, at baby groups and things, and everyone's kind of talking about all these traumatic things they've gone through.
Yeah,
And you sometimes feel like you can't, well, actually,
I know it's really hard.
yeah, but it couldn't have gone better. Um,
Mm.
the the way that I was able to stay at home, just me and my husband for so long. I mean, in an ideal scenario, probably the midwives would have arrived a tiny bit earlier, but actually, I think I was just in such my own bubble
Yeah.
that I was able to kind of do it all. And actually, I also had your little birth, the positive stories.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, so that came out
Yes.
like 3 days or four
Yes, of
days
course. Oh,
before my
wow.
baby was born. And I'd ordered it on my Kindle. And I just
Oh,
sat there like reading it again and again and again.
oh, bless you. Oh, I love
um,
it. I love that it came out just before because it's beginning of
yeah,
July. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, so I think like even when I was in the bath that morning that I gave birth, I was just
You were
reading them
reading it.
again. And I think that for me was just the biggest thing. I think just
Mm.
completely changing the fear
Yeah.
to positive and kind of understanding that my body could do it.
What did everybody say when you told them that you had given birth at home?
What the hell? So we kind of so the only kind of complication. So the placenta came physiologically after kind of half an hour or so. I'd had a small tear, but they stitched me there and stuff.
Hmm.
Was just once they did Olive's newborn checks, they thought she might have a heart murmur and she needed to be seen in
Oh,
the
really?
hospital. Yeah, but obviously working in cardiac and stuff myself before, I
Of
was just
course.
very kind of, I wasn't too worried because I'd seen all her numbers and stuff, and I literally got
Yeah.
the stethoscope and I was like, let me have a listen.
Yeah, of course, you know what you're doing.
Yeah, they were like, oh, are you sure your placenta's still attached? um,
Let me
but no,
listen.
yeah, so I could hear the murmur and I was very, there's bits in the heart that need to close after a few hours. And I said, I just thought it was because she was so fresh and so new that they
Okay.
just kind of not done that part yet. So we did have to take her to A&E.
What, straight away was that?
Yeah, a few hours. They let me like we showered and everything, and it wasn't like an
Yes.
ambulance transfer.
Yeah.
But I was like, if we are going to go to hospital at night, it might be not great news. Say, I'd rather just enjoy this little blissful moment of telling everyone
Yeah.
first. So
Yeah.
when we went upstairs after the midwives had left, we just kind of FaceTimed my family and my husband's family. And you see the moment, obviously, they see the baby and they're like so happy. And then all of a sudden, they're like, you can kind of see them like, oh, so when did you get home? And then we say, like, no, she was born downstairs on the living room floor. And they're all
Oh my
like,
God.
yeah. But I think, my mum in particular, she was like, no, I completely understand like why you chose to keep that, to
Yes.
yourself. And
Had your sister given birth by this point?
no, so she was a few weeks after me.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, her baby was born about 3 weeks after mine. So
I bet
yeah,
you kind of inspired her a little bit though, didn't you? Like, because it's yours was so
yeah,
positive.
yeah, I think so. It was nice for her to kind of like hear it. And I mean, I said,
Yeah.
I'm not because so the funny thing was I said to my husband, I was like, you need to film it. I want to see
Yeah.
afterwards. But so he just put my phone like on the side, resting on the TV. But arguably the angle was a bit too good. It was like,
Oh, wow. Really? Have you
yeah, that
watched it then?
immediately. I know some people say they
Yes.
need a little while longer, but that
Yeah.
that night, when you kind of can't sleep because you're just looking at them, I was like, oh, let me see. And then I was like, oh, that's
Amazing.
why it's so sore down there.
Yes, yes.
But yeah, no, the video is amazing. I mean, but
Wow.
I didn't show my sister because I was like, you don't
Yes.
need to see that quite
Yeah.
yet.
It's quite a lot, I think, to see before you like the full blown shot. Yeah, can be quite a lot.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was,
Yeah.
a very good angle. Uh
Yeah. Amazing.
so yeah, everyone was yeah, they were really happy. I think they were just so happy for us that it had all gone well. No one said anything negative, like, why did you have a home birth? I would never have done no, no one said
Yes, of
anything like
course.
that.
Because also once
Um
it's like gone well, no one's going to say that because it's
yeah,
gone well and
yeah,
it makes so much sense why you did have a home birth.
yeah, absolutely. And I think since it's happened, I mean, the one thing I will say, a special shout out to so one of my friends, we made friends when we were pregnant, and actually so we had gone for coffee one time and she said, oh yeah, well, So I said, "Oh, your midwife appointment's in my village because that's where they normally are." And she said, "Oh no, well, don't think I'm all woo-woo, but I'm actually having a home birth." And I was like, "Me too."
Yay.
Yeah, so we spoke a lot about it, and she had her little boy about a month before me, and she really prepared me actually. She kind of gave me lots of like inspiration and
Oh, good.
top tips, and I think it was nice, she said about how her husband found it quite intense to watch your partner go through that.
Yeah.
So I think that was helpful for my husband Nathan as well to
Yeah.
understand because it is hard.
It is. It's
And
hard to be a birth partner. Birth is so intense. Like if I'm at a birth, even if it's quite a relatively short birth, and it's not, I'm just there as the doula. I'm not
mm,
emotionally involved. But it takes me a good few days, like mentally, to
yeah,
recover because it's
yeah,
so emotionally intense. So for
yeah,
birth partners, yeah, and if they're not used to it, obviously, which they're not,
yeah,
it's a big thing. It is.
yeah, it's huge. And then you've
Yeah.
just got this little baby at the end that
Yeah. You got to look
and
after.
yeah, and everyone, on the one thing that I was excited about was everyone on the podcast says, "Oh, just going upstairs and having a shower in your own shower
Yes.
and climbing into bed after." And I was just so when I was in the shower, I was like, "Nathan, this is my shower. Like, this is
This is my
incredible."
moment. It is
Yeah,
amazing. It's the best feeling. It's
I
wild.
was. It was incredible, and I love now when I'm just sat on the sofa and stuff on the lounge. I just look on the floor and I'm like, "Oh,
I
that's where
know.
you were born. That's where
Yeah.
you popped out."
And how nice that
Um,
you can tell her that. Like my youngest was born in like the room literally just diagonal to me there.
yeah,
And we tell her like we're like, that's where you were born. And she
yeah.
like goes and tells everybody I was born on the sofa at home.
Here,
Like
yeah.
it's so nice.
I did love it, like a few times afterwards. I had to go to MAU like a week after because I had a temperature or something. And they were like, "And
Oh,
where was the
right.
baby born?" And I was like, "At home." I was very, it
Yeah.
also
You're proud.
yeah, I was so proud. And also in the few days after, day 3, the hormones hit, don't they? And you're feeling
Mm,
emotional. And I just started getting so upset because I was like, this this is what birth should be, and like this is what it's about.
yeah.
And I got so upset knowing that it was such a rarity. Like my
I
birth story, I'd not
know.
had many birth stories like that
Yeah.
around me,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I felt like I feel very lucky that postpartum for me has been really good. And I do
Yeah.
think so much of that is number one to do with like how my birth went and how like
Yeah.
motherhood started, my daughter's entry into the world.
Yeah.
And I remember on like day 3 just like sobbing to my husband. I was like, this is so sad that no one else, like not no one else has this, but a lot of people don't have this, and
Yeah.
it's kind of not taken from them. But with
Yeah.
the way that maternity care and stuff is in England, that
Yeah. A lot of people
it's
aren't given the opportunity to have that type of birth.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And my one thing now, like, someone in my family is having a baby, and like the one thing that I said, I was like, just learn.
Yeah.
And like, two things I always say: listen to positive birth stories,
Yeah.
flood your brain with as much kind of normal physiological
Yeah.
stories, but also, the emergency C-sections that have turned out
Yeah.
positive, like all the
Yeah.
births, and kind of like hypnobirthing within that. And then on the other side of it is like just read, learn how, which I really enjoyed about hypnobirthing. It gives
Mm.
you the techniques to kind of advocate for yourself, and kind of the brain acronyms and things like that,
Yeah.
understanding, does this choice need to be made now, can I reevaluate and come back to it.
Yeah.
And if you have like the education, not even education, maybe that's the wrong word, sorry, if you can empower yourself with the knowledge,
Yeah.
then you give yourself a bit of time to
Mm.
to make the choices when they arise.
Yes. That's what it's
So
about. It's having the knowledge so that if anything does come up, you feel knowledgeable and empowered to make those decisions. And that's what's such a great start to your motherhood journey is feeling so empowered during the birth, even if it doesn't go exactly to the plan.
yeah, exactly, yeah. And I do think I was prepared for that. So, like, yes, I very
Mm,
much, you do have a birth plan and you want it to follow that. Of course you do. But I felt like I was prepared for all the different scenarios as well because
yeah.
I had the kind of the understanding. And I think sometimes people do think because I was a children's nurse, maybe it came naturally to me or maybe it was easier, but I had no clue about, maternity
No.
side of things. And
It,
I used to get so confused when people would say, you've got to listen to your body, you've got to trust your body. And I was thinking, I don't know what my body's telling me because
mm,
number one, I'm feeling awful. It's making me be sick all the time. And I've never been pregnant before. What do you mean I need to
mm.
trust myself? And I found that really, really difficult to get my head around, really.
I actually think your job as a children's nurse makes it actually more difficult because you're firstly you're medically trained, but also you see babies that aren't well. I remember
Yeah,
like one
yeah.
my I had some doula clients once. They were both in the community, but they were children's nurses, and they really struggled when it got to that kind of 40 weeks of pregnancy because they see some children
Mhm.
who the reason they're so unwell is as a result of their
Yeah,
birth.
yeah, yeah,
So they
absolutely.
really struggled with the potential like risks that the doctors are saying to them that could happen
Yeah.
if they go over.
And
And it was really
because,
difficult for them.
yeah, I would never look after, all the majority of meconiums that are absolutely fine.
Mm,
I would only ever look after
of
the
course.
meconium
The ones that
aspirations that
weren't.
were very, very poorly. And
Absolutely.
but
Yeah.
happens all the time, and the
Yeah.
baby's absolutely fine.
That's exactly the
Um,
same for them. They saw worst case. And for them, remember them saying, to them, it seems like everyone is
yeah,
like unwell because that's what they
absolutely.
see.
Yeah,
But actually, it's such a small percentage. But because they see it all the time, it feels like it's everybody. So we had to do like a lot of work on that side of things
yeah,
because,
yeah,
and so it actually does make it, I think, harder for
yeah,
you.
yeah. No, I do. I definitely do agree with that. And I
Mm,
think that's where you have to try and remind yourself just about this is like birth is not an interesting event. It happens every day to, every
yeah.
woman, every mother we know has had a birth, and that's what
Yeah.
one big thing I kept saying to myself is like, yes, this is life changing for me, but like
Yeah.
it's not really a big thing in the world. This happens all the time. And I just kept saying
Yeah.
to myself, it's just a normal physiological process. It's just gonna
Yeah.
happen.
And it did.
Yeah, it did. And it could have gone better. So
Yeah. Oh, so nice. How amazing. And
yeah.
it's just such a lovely start and lovely
Yeah.
start for your daughter as well. Like, what a lovely way to be brought into the world. And just to check, she was all fine, was she, with her
Yeah,
heart?
yeah, she was absolutely
Yeah.
fine. It was by the time we got to A&E, they couldn't hear anything. So,
That was what you thought.
yeah, yeah, which was nice. That was like best case scenario. But I
Yeah.
mean, there was a moment where I walked into A&E and I was like, "So I've just
Mm.
had a baby," and they were like, "I said 3 hours ago." What are you doing? Sit down. Like, but I think as well because I
Oh,
was so sick throughout my whole
yeah.
pregnancy. The minute that placenta was out, I felt on top of the world.
Were
Like,
you unwell during your labor?
no, so I'd actually not been sick since I think that morning. That morning
Oh,
I'd
wow.
been sick, but then yeah, I wasn't like vomiting throughout,
Good.
which was a blessing. But
And then as
I
soon as the placenta was out, it was just gone, that.
yeah, I remember like when we got home from the hospital, I just stood and cleaned my teeth for like 10 minutes because I'd not been able to like look at my toothbrush
Oh,
without being
yeah, of
sick.
course. God, yes. What a nice feeling.
Oh, it was amazing. So I think, you know,
Wow.
I've probably got more to process from the pregnancy really than the birth.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah,
So would you plan on having more babies? What does the pregnancy side of it put you off?
no, we definitely want another baby, but I won't. I think it's just going to take me a lot longer to like get my
Mm,
head around the thought
yeah.
of it happening. My cousin, she did have hyperemesis as well, and she only had it in one of her pregnancies, which
Okay.
fills me with positivity.
Yeah.
But I just, yeah, I think it's gonna be. We won't be doing two under two, definitely
Yeah,
not.
yeah, yeah. Give yourself a
Um,
break.
and I mean, Olive, like she is a dream
Oh,
baby.
oh,
She is such a contented like
so
girl.
nice.
Yeah,
Lovely.
but it will definitely take a while
Yeah, I have a
to
friend that suffers with it in pregnancy, and I know it. Like they had two, and then she really like wanted a third, but it was just she did have a third in the end, but it really took her a while to
yeah,
prepare herself to go through that again
yeah,
because
yeah.
it's hard because she knows she's got to go through that, but she really was not done having children.
Yeah, yeah. And it's not just
Yeah,
like me that it will affect the next time, it
yeah,
will affect Olive as well. She'll not
yeah,
really, well, I know she'll have a mum, but like I won't be able to,
yeah,
if I'm like I was, I won't be able to,
yeah.
actively parent. So,
What a
and we
shame,
don't,
like we haven't come far in trying to treat it
yeah.
properly.
I did have it. It's a bit of a postcode lottery as well, though. So there
Mm,
is a kind of a relatively new anti-sickness called Veniva. I don't know if you've
mm,
heard of it. I can't remember, think that's the wrong
yeah.
pronunciation. But again, so the GPs couldn't prescribe it in Leicestershire.
Mm,
It's not on the GP formulary. So anytime I needed a repeat prescription, I'd have to go through to the hospital, but you couldn't do
yeah.
that preemptively. So I'd be at the GP begging for it, and they would say, "Well, try this one that I had in my first week that never worked." And then 2 hours later, I'd be back in the hospital. And it's just,
Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah, it's
yeah,
horrible. It's horrible, isn't
feels
it?
like it's probably one of them things that if it happened to men, yeah,
Oh,
it
guaranteed,
would
yeah.
be
It is one
solved
of,
by
yeah.
now.
It would be fixed. It would not be a problem. Guaranteed. If it happened to
Yeah.
men, they'd have an amazing cure.
I remember, I think I was maybe about 20 weeks pregnant. I was in the GP and I was just in like, I was crying, but I was so dehydrated. There were no tears coming
Oh my
out.
God.
And I just remember him saying to me, he was like, it's hard, but this is a normal part of pregnancy. And I said, I was like, I
Shouldn't be.
can't swallow the spit that's in my own mouth. Like, this isn't normal. And
Oh
he
my
said to
God.
me, have you tried ginger biscuits?
Oh, stop. Oh my
And I
God.
was like,
It's like
I just,
mansplaining it to you.
yeah, I just walked out. And then actually, he
Yeah.
ended up calling MAU or something because I think he panicked that he'd probably sent her. And because I'd done a urine sample and he'd not even dipped it. I came in with it and he said we won't need that, but I'd left it on the side when I'd left the room, and obviously he called MAU and they were like, dip a urine, and
Yeah.
obviously it was full of ketones and showed how dehydrated I was. So they ended up
Course.
calling me to come in, and the doctor told me she did tell him off on the phone. So I said,
Did
good.
she?
Yeah.
It kind of feels like, it almost would feel better coming from a female doctor, like because it's
Yeah.
so a man
Yeah.
could just never understand it. There's no possibility that they could ever experience it. So I think, yeah, having a man saying, "Have you tried a ginger biscuit?" just feels very
Oh, yeah.
patronizing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
had you even tried a ginger biscuit? I mean, maybe that was the answer to all of the
I
problems.
know. I should have just done that. I don't think
It
I
was a
can even
ginger biscuit.
sniff a ginger biscuit these days without vomiting.
Oh my
So,
God, no. Oh, how awful for you. But it's a lovely, lovely birth and lovely postpartum, which is obviously what you deserve after that
yeah, yeah.
pregnancy. So
And
that's the main
that,
thing.
yeah, and that's it. Now, and everyone says it, and I used to not believe it, but it is true. Like, time does heal things
Yeah.
like that. And I
Yeah.
would give birth again, like tomorrow, if I needed
Yes.
to. It's
Yeah.
just the getting there. That's the question.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. But who knows? Different pregnancy could be completely different
yeah,
next time.
absolutely.
You just don't know, do you?
No,
But yeah, thank you. That was great. I
it's a
loved listening to that
pleasure.
story. What a lovely first birth story that's, yeah,
Yeah.
like very straightforward and
It
textbook
it
and
does sometimes make me think, like, because it went so well, I get the fear of like, oh, that can't happen again, but it
I've had
can.
people say that. It can. I do power hours with people and I've had quite a few
Mm,
people say to me, like, I'm so worried because it can't possibly be as good. But of course it can. Absolutely.
yeah.
You've just proved to yourself that you can do it really well, that your body actually gives birth really efficiently.
Yeah.
So
The
there's
midwives did say that. They
absolutely,
were like, next time, as soon as it starts for
yes,
your second baby,
absolutely.
call
Yes.
us.
Yes, immediately. But yeah, you can do it because you've just proved that you've done it. So actually the chances of it going that way next time are probably even higher because you know that you
Yeah.
can. So, yeah, how great. I love it. Thank you so much. And if
No,
you do
thank
go
you
on
for,
to have another one and another, great experience, then do come back and
no,
share your story
definitely.
again.
Yeah,
But yeah,
no,
it's been
thank you
really
for having us.
lovely. You're so
Yeah.
welcome. It's been nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll just
Bye.
bye.